Now let's bring in Associate Editor at the Australian newspaper, Jenna Clarke. Jenna, what was the reaction in the newsroom today when this unfolded?
Sharri, I must say it was one of us shock and surprise, not too dissimilar to what we heard earlier in the year by Daniel Andrews' good mate across the Nullarbor, McGowan, who also stepped down as West Australian Premier just a couple of months ago, citing exhaustion and just saying that, my time is up. Look, I don't want to foreshadow too much, but I know that our Victorian editor, Damon Johnston, has an incredible piece for the paper tomorrow about his time previously as the editor of the Herald Sun. So it's definitely a must-read tomorrow. But I think
and actually, really... Damon Johnston's going to be on my show in a moment.
Look at that.
So there you go.
What a sizzle.
And I'm just alerting viewers that in the corner of our screen now, we have Daniel Andrews' car leaving Government House. So he has just resigned his commission as Premier of Victoria. That will be effective 5 p.m. tomorrow, but just bringing you the vision of that live as it was happening. So Jenna, continue as you were saying. This was a shock today. What do you think his legacy will be, though? In my view, he will mostly be remembered for the tough and many would say horrific approach to COVID lockdowns.
Yeah, I think so. COVID lockdowns, the worst in the world, or the longest in the world, I should say, and also massive debt. I think, and I say that as an outsider, not having lived in Victoria and things like that, but just seeing sort of the impact that those lockdowns have had on friends and associates. I think that will be a legacy that will probably even transcend his incoming, the successor, because I think that this impact will go on for many, many years, especially on, like you said in your editorial, on young children. But yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting. And just the fact that, one of his legacies, I think, as what Simon alluded to, will be his gruff approach to the Fourth Estate. And I find it very odd that he continued to, throw up today, well, you don't understand this about me, you don't know this about me. That's because he never offered himself up for any interviews. I think the last one I can really remember is a sit-down interview with The Guardian, and that's the most recent sort of published one-on-one we've had in recent times. And he also sat down with the ABC last Monday before announcements were made into key housing policies.
An authoritarian approach to the state and contempt for the media. That is Daniel Andrews in a nutshell. Now, Jenna, let's quickly have a look at some of the other top stories of the day, and Damon Johnston, the Victorian political editor of The Australian, will join us in a moment to talk about Daniel Andrews. But The Australian today revealed the Defence Force's number of outsourced workers has risen to 37,000, a record number, and this as recruitment and retention efforts flatline. But these dwindling Defence Force numbers come as emergency services ministers, Jenna, meet in Canberra this week. They're telling us that they are prepared for the bushfire season. What's the assessment on this?
I think it's really damning on the fact that I think all states and territories are not ready for summer, specifically the bushfire season, Sharri. And just the fact we had Murray Watt, on Sky and on TVs over the weekend saying, yeah, we're prepared, couldn't really explain how we were going to be prepared. And when you also look back and you peel away and you look at things like the Victorian Firefighters Association and the union, still saying that things like COVID mandates, are thwarting people joining the force in voluntary numbers, outdated machinery. I think this just goes to show that, the army can only be called in for, a special amount of things like we saw with COVID lockdowns. But the fact that summer is coming and I think we haven't really had a plan. So I guess we'll have to wait for another emergency white paper or something. But that's not going to help when summer is right on our doorstep.